Here's the recap of American Horror Story Hotel. Detective John investigates a series of brutal murders. He finds naked lovers who were nailed to each other by a maniac, and the man's eyes and tongue were torn out. While the protagonist is trying to find at least some evidence, he receives a phone call from an unknown person who says that it was he who killed them and is now in the gloomy Hotel Cortez. The man immediately goes to the specified address, but in the room finds no one, and after a while he gets a vision of his son Holden, who disappeared a few years ago. Sometime later, John receives a message from his wife with an address where she asks him to come and help her. Except that in the specified house, he does not find Alex, but sees only 2 disemboweled corpses. Realizing that he and his family are in danger, John decides to leave home for a while and settles in Cortez. Meanwhile, the Countess and her boyfriend Donovan find a couple in love and drag them to their room for a little fun. However, during foreplay, the protagonists kill their guests and drink their blood. Soon a new hotel owner named Will shows up, and the Countess takes his son to a secret room where young children live, including the kidnapped Holden, the detective's son. There, their blood is drained out of them. Meanwhile, John meets a local regular named Sally in the hotel lobby. Years ago, she was a drug addict who came to this hotel with Donovan. Then the guy died of an overdose, and his distraught mother Iris threw her out the window. Since then, she's been a ghost, forced to spend eternity inside the hotel walls. John, of course, does not know the whole truth about Sally and sees her only as an acquaintance to whom he simply tells about his life over a glass of alcohol. The next day, Will holds a fashion show at the hotel, where model Tristan participates in one of the fashion shows. The Countess immediately spots him and soon decides to infect him with an ancient virus that runs in her blood as well. Now he is a vampire and her new boyfriend. Donovan does not like it because he is in love with his creator, but his mother Iris, who works at the front desk as administrator, is delighted with the news. John's daughter Scarlett also comes to the fashion show, and together with the new owner's son, she wanders around the hotel and finds glass coffins, in one of which her brother is sleeping. Not believing her eyes, the girl decides not to tell her parents yet, and the next day once again returns to Cortez. This time she manages to talk to Holden, but his behavior seems strange to her. Scarlett tells the happy news to her father and mother, but they think it is foolish because the boy disappeared many years ago and is unlikely to be alive. After a series of strange visions, John tries to find out about this place from Iris, who tells him the history of Cortez from the day it was founded. It turns out that in the mid-20th of the last century, local millionaire Mr. March decided to build a hotel. However, being a brutal killer, the man, during the construction, provided in the building a number of secret passages and secret rooms, as well as corridors that do not lead to the exit, so that the victim could not escape. Years later, police discovered Mr. March's handkerchief at one of the crime scenes and paid a visit to the hotel. Realizing that his evil deeds were about to be discovered, the millionaire decided to kill himself. And with him went out of life and his devoted maid, Miss Evers. Since then, spirits have been roaming the hotel and killing everyone who displeases them. John doesn't believe Iris's words, so he just leaves. Donovan once again rejects Mother Iris and declares that it would be better if she killed herself. The distraught woman shares her suffering with Sally, and the girl agrees to help her part with her life. She injects her with some kind of substance, but at the last moment, her son comes running in and turns her into a vampire. Meanwhile, Alex comes to John and brings divorce papers. In the years they have been together, she has never been able to come to terms with the disappearance of her son, so she doesn't want to be together with her husband anymore. Before leaving the hotel, the protagonist sees Holden and immediately takes him home. But soon, she realizes that something is obviously wrong with the child. The fact is that he killed a pet and drank its blood. Alex returns to Cortez with her son and meets the Countess, who offers her the greatest gift of immortality in exchange for unconditional obedience. Since she has always had a special bond with Holden that she never had with John or Scarlett, Alex agrees and turns into a vampire. It's Devil's Night, where the greatest killers of the 20th century come together to celebrate their atrocities. So John finds himself invited to this celebration, where he sees the faces of all the killers who have been trumpeted in the news for decades. After small-talk ghosts of maniacs decided to kill another poor man, and at that moment, John passes out. When he wakes up, the protagonist sees the guest Sally in front of him, who assures him that nothing of the kind happened, and the dinner with the killers was a dream. Newly minted vampire, Alex decides to help a child, Max, who is dying of measles, by turning him seconds before his death. However, the protagonist did not think what consequences her deed would have. The fact is that the recovered boy turned half of his class, and together with his friends killed teachers and parents. Soon the children began to kill everyone who gets in their way, because the thirst for blood every day became stronger and stronger. After a while, the Countess finds out about it and gives Alex an ultimatum. Either she will deal with the children or the Countess will have to do it herself, but in this case, Alex will die too. Meanwhile, Iris is also trying to get used to her new state, but she has not yet come to the point of killing people. However, when a couple of arrogant hipsters move into the hotel, the main character's nerves give out. She kills the disgruntled tenants and feeds on their blood. Hotel barmaid Liz and Tristan fall in love with each other, but because of the Countess, they cannot be together. Liz decides to talk to her benefactress, but she kills Tristan for betraying her. Meanwhile, Will, as the new owner of the hotel, checks the layout of the building with the documentation and finds some discrepancies. As a result, the builders demolish the steel wall that was not taken into account, but they do not know yet that Valentino and Natasha were vampires hiding behind this wall. In 1925, the Countess met Valentino on the set of another movie, and between them immediately erupted passion. Together with Natasha, couple often spent time together, but soon it became known that Valentino died. The Countess was hard to bear this news, and in order not to finally go crazy, decided to marry Mr. March, the creator of the hotel. Not that she did not prevent her husband from killing people, but on the contrary supported his craving for cruelty and bloodshed. After a while, the protagonist learned that Valentino purposely faked his death because he and Natasha acquired something priceless: immortality. So from now on, he could not appear on the screens because sooner or later people would notice that he does not age. Then the couple offered the Countess to leave with them, but at the appointed time, they never came. For a long time, the protagonist thought that she was abandoned and only now learned that her husband, Mr. March, simply walled them up in the hotel, condemning them to eternal torment. At this time, John, who from now on is tormented by visions that have no rational explanation, continues to investigate a series of murders. Having analyzed each case, the protagonist guesses that someone kills people, choosing victims according to the principle of the 10 Commandments. To find out more, he specially lays down in a psychiatric hospital to find the alleged killer, but instead, he finds a girl, Ren. She informs the detective that the real killer has been living in Cortez all this time, and then she jumps in front of a car and dies on purpose. John returns to the hotel, where he is met by Sally, who takes the protagonist to a secret room built by Mr. March. John sees flasks inscribed with the 10 Commandments, each containing some sort of human organ. It turns out that John himself was the serial killer, and he doesn't remember it only because he suppresses his memories himself. Sally recounts the detective's first appearance at the hotel. The case was several years ago. Then he met the ghost of March, who, talking to him, realized that it was John who was worthy of becoming his follower and killing people. To push the protagonist to the first step, March incited the Countess to steal Holden, thus creating a deep wound on John's heart, which became the trigger for a series of murders. The Countess wants to reconnect with Valentino, but to do so, she needs to marry Will as soon as possible and kill him in order to inherit the hotel. The plan works, but here Donovan kills her lover Valentino. When the Countess comes to him to get even, Liz and Iris burst into the room, intending to kill the owner and start running the hotel on their own. Except that they can't kill the Countess because she is covered by Donovan, who soon dies. Now that the Countess has nothing to keep her in the hotel, she gathers her things and leaves. But in the elevator, she is met by John and killed as the last victim of the 10 Commandments. So the Countess becomes a ghost, forever imprisoned within the walls of the hotel, and Mr. March's ultimate dream of being reunited with his wife comes true. Now that they are both ghosts, the founder of the Cortez forgives his wife for turning him into the police that day. But it turns out that it wasn't her, but the devoted maid Miss Evers, who is desperate for his recognition. Now that Will and the Countess have become ghosts, the hotel is run by Iris and Liz. They are trying to do everything possible to make these walls again appear tenants, but only the ghosts of Sally and will constantly kill visitors. Then the main characters decide to hold a general meeting and convincingly ask the ghosts not to kill people anymore, because otherwise the hotel can be demolished and it is not known where the ghosts will go then. Iris gives Sally a phone and opens the world of social networks and virtual communication for her, and Liz helps Will to realize that even being dead, he can keep his business and increase his capital. The ideas of the main characters work, and no one else tries to kill visitors. After a while, Liz learns about cancer and realizes that very soon she will die. Not wanting to part with her loved ones, she asks the ghosts of the hotel to kill her in order to stay in Cortez forever. They agree, and the Countess kills Liz. Meanwhile, the ghost of Detective John, who psychic Billy Dean is looking for, appears in the hotel. In an interview, the man talks about how he died. It turns out that after he left the hotel with Holden and Alex, life became a little more complicated because they constantly needed blood. To keep Scarlett safe, her parents sent her to a good residential school. So, during one of the raids, when John was getting blood for his family, the police killed him. But since he did not die within the walls of the hotel, he could not remain the ghost of Cortez. Now only on the night of the devil he can appear here, to make sure the psychic doesn't show up at the hotel again. John brings her to dinner with the ghosts of serial killers, thus demonstrating a very real threat to her life, in case she does continue to search for answers. This is the end of the Season 5. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.